Welcome, everyone, to this special edition of the Late Show podcast presented by Windham Training. I'm your host, Keon Holston. Today, we have a very special guest in the building, and it's a wonderful opportunity to have him in the building. Windham Training's founder, Evan Windham. Evan, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, Keon, appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, so just tell us a little bit about Windham Training and how this all started for you, and just give us a little background about what you did in college. I know you did semi-pro and then you were in college. So just give us a little background about all of that.
Yeah, sure thing, sure thing. I think I'll start with the background of myself and then kind of lead into Wyndham Training, how it was founded. So through college, played college ball. Started out Young Harris, my first 2 years at Young Harris College, and didn't get much playing time, so I had to figure out a change. Also, monetarily, couldn't really afford the school. Went into Shorter University out in Rome, very close to Dalton. You must have been around those parts, or it's
Correct.
fairly close. So, and finished up my career there, graduated, and throughout the 4 years, I was playing the USL League Two, which is a pathway for a bunch of guys in college that want to continue to play in the summertime and just
We
continue
actually
to. What is it?
we actually have the Dalton United here. It used to be Dalton Red Bulls, but now it's Dalton
Yeah,
United soccer
yeah,
team.
yeah, yeah. So actually, my little brother played there this past summer, and I got to watch them a good bit. But yeah, I played against the Dalton Red Wolves whenever they were a team before they turned into the Dalton United. But I guess going back to the story of how Win Trends created. So through my college career and through my USL2 career, I made really good contacts, even overseas. And through these contacts, I eventually found a way to go overseas and play.
Right.
I had a couple of trials. I had a couple opportunities to sign. One key opportunity in 2021 with a fourth division team of Sauna in Verona, Italy, and I declined and stayed and played for Short University. And after that year, the same president who wanted me in 21, he was going to make a team assembly with Chievo Verona, which used to be a first division team in Italy, which had a lot of monetary problems. He called me back in 2022 when I had graduated, when I finished playing USL2. And I went overseas and tried to continue my career. I had a 3 week trial, got shut down for a fourth division trial, and then played in my hometown team in the sixth division, played in the fifth division down in South Italy, and eventually closed out my career in South Italy. And just said the lifestyle wasn't for me anymore. But I really left off with with a good taste in my mouth, in the sense of I had made great connections, and um, soccer really gave me a lot. So I left off soccer with a really good place, and then after that, I just kind of traveled and had a lot of different opportunities. Went over to Australia. Again, had a lot of opportunities that I made for myself outside of soccer. And eventually, when I came back, now leading into your second question that you had, was how Wyndham Training was created. So after my soccer career kind of dwindled down and I took off, traveled, I came back to the States of this year in 2024, and I was a bit lost. I didn't really know what exactly to do. So was finding small jobs here and there. I've always landscaped when I was younger with my dad when he was not overseas, and also with my brother. And we were just taking down a house bit by bit on our property. Had nothing else besides that going on. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do now? I basically grew an identity with soccer. Like Evan Wyndham was soccer for the longest time, and soccer was Evan Wyndham. Everybody knew who I was in the soccer world, in the sense of here locally, small town here in Northeast Georgia outside of Helen. And I just, again, grew an identity with soccer, and I had nothing else to my name besides that. So I said, I'm going to start training kids for the heck of it. And I think this was in late February, maybe early March. Started training a couple of kids here and there. The word started getting around. As you may know, in Dalton, small town, word gets around really fast, especially there at Dalton State College. it's just a small environment, and loads of people talk, and it's just locals, and it's the same thing here. So word got around, and here I am, after about 6 months after I created Wyndham Training LLC, after I registered the actual LLC and started doing merchandise and getting more of the word out, becoming more apparent on social media, and the word kept compounding, and I'm making connections now in different states. I'm making connections with my former teammates who are playing pros, just trying to put them again in the light of Wyndham Training. And again, with all my soccer connections, now I'm trying to bring it back. And but that's I guess, long story short, that's how Wyndham Training was created, from nothing to now something that is going pretty quickly.
That's great, and I think what your brand represents on social media is like, you're training the next generation of athletes, but but it has an actual story, that like, people can relate to and also find great, because you're doing all this and you had an incredible story that like just, what are you going to do what are you going to do, like soccer is connected to your name, like that's the only thing that's connected to your name. And I feel as if like when I first saw your brand, I was like, we need to give this guy a chance, because he I believe that this brand is going to go places, is what I'm saying.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So a number one question, this is actually a fan question.
Let's hear it.
what what was your original plan after college besides
Oh
Wyndham
man,
Training?
my original plan after college, I think I actually just mentioned it. Just keep playing. I loved playing. Again, it's something that I've done since I was at least competitively when I was 13. I started playing in the ranks of GSA with head coach Paul or Nuna Patera, sorry. And so when I started at 13 years old, going into that really competitive soccer and loads of traveling, my all of me and all my sacrifices came down to playing and trying to play. So I knew that throughout college, even though it was a really rocky road because I didn't play much and I was in a program that was not necessarily as a professional environment, my last 2 years, I had a lot of challenges, but I stuck it out and opportunities came and I made the most out of those opportunities, I thought. So, no, it's a great question. I just wanted to play. Yeah, I just wanted to continue to play
Just wanted to
and
keep getting your feet wet and
100%, 100%. Again, I just wanted to keep playing. And I've always told my parents that I really wanted to travel. I love traveling. And if I could travel and play soccer, it's like my dreams came true. So I somewhat made it happen. Well, I would say I made it happen going to Italy. And that's something that again, made a lot of sacrifices for and invested my own time, my own money, spent loads and loads of time away from my family, my friends, and again made a lot of sacrifices because that's what I wanted to do. So in the end, yeah, I think the answer to your question is I just wanted to play after college.
what other countries have you played soccer in?
Well, I played in Costa Rica, but it's nothing competitively. In Costa Rica, we actually resided in Costa Rica for roughly a year. My sister was born there, but we went back and just played. Um, and then Italy and America are the two countries that I've played competitive soccer in, and I've played in terms where it would be recognized as true competitive soccer. Yeah.
That's great. And I think a lot of people in the dorms, they have also had that opportunity to play um in soccer. I think we have like 24 I think at one point we had like 24 athletes representing like 24 different parts of the world. And it was just very beautiful how they just came together a couple of seasons ago and just got the job done. I remember the soccer team last year going all the way to NAIA nationals, and it was a hard fought campaign. We still have a hard fought campaign going ahead. We just closed
Hmm.
out our. You were there last night. We just closed out our home game campaign, so they're on the road for the next couple of games. But I do think they'll get the job done.
Oh, for sure, for sure. When you bring 24 caliber players from different countries that have loads and loads of experience, especially in other countries, coming to the United States and playing against freshman kids that are 17, 18 years old and onwards that maybe don't have that experience of playing against, 25, 30-year-old players. And again, you combine them with the same mission and you create a culture, it can be unstoppable. And that's what I can see watching Dalton State soccer and also having my brother there and having his voice kind of telling me what's going on and how the culture is and what the mission and drive is. Yeah, they can be unstoppable and they can go really, really deep this year, I think.
So before we go any further, you want to give a shout out to your little brother Ian?
Oh, 100%, man. What's up, Ian? He's awesome. Man, he's actually somebody that's helped me out so much with this formation of Wyndham Training. To kind of touch up on that, I guess to give a further shout out and kind of go on a small tangent here. I was struck by a car the middle of this summer when Wyndham Training was really starting to buzz, and I was out. I couldn't play. I couldn't hit a soccer ball. Couldn't train kids. So I was out for roughly a month, and he sacrificed his own time, left his summer team at Dalton United, and came back and poured in his own time to continue Wyndham Training, continue on the social media and helping me out to develop the kids and keep going with our mission and our journey and what we're trying to develop here in our small town. So big shout out to my little brother for sure. So that's a small little story I could share with you.
Kudos to him, by the way.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So moving on to Wyndham Training itself, what do you think are the key attributes that define a successful soccer player in today's modern game? Because you know the game soccer itself has had so many evolutions over the last couple of decades. You have people paying like money just to get like that proper coaching to become that next player or to be that shining player on the starting 11. What do you think are the most successful? I mean, what do you think that defines that true successful player?
Sure thing. Are we speaking as a professional athlete, or are we speaking as an athlete who has ambitions to become a professional athlete? I would say those are two different questions.
I'd say we could talk about both. Let's start with ambition.
Okay. Okay. I would say so. The ambition piece is probably the most important piece. When it comes down to ambition and passion, and obviously the love of the game, it has to be one of the top things that really burns inside of you and is like gas to your engine in a way to drive you forwards. Because if you have that, that is the root of most professional soccer players. The reason why they are there is because they have a relentless drive, they have ambition, they have passion for the game and for the love of the game. So I would say whether you're not a professional or you are a professional, that's the number one thing that you have to have internally is ambition and drive and love for the game. Because everything else that revolves around it, the physical side, the pre-injury stuff, the nutrition, the sleep, all that stuff is really, really important. But if you don't have the internal capacity and the mentality and the lifestyle to live like a true footballer, and I'm speaking as a professional now, or for a professional, then you're going to have a really, really short career or no career at all. So it's very important to have that. Now, I've kind of spoken about the professional aspect of it and also the non-professional aspect of it for kids that have ambitions to become pros. But it can kind of all tie together from the thing that I just stated about the internal ambition. So hopefully that killed two birds with one stone.
Okay. So, how does Wyndham Training differ from other soccer development programs in terms of your training methodology and also your players' growth?
Oh, that's a great question. So I had the pleasure to talk to numerous trainers in the last few months. The last few months, yeah, last few short months. I've chatted to about three different personal trainers, and we all resonate, and we all have different philosophies and training methodologies. But I think something that separates me is that I'm fresh off the press. They've been training for about a year, 2 years, and they may have somewhat, they may have a passion for it, which when I was talking to him, I definitely recognized that. Especially one of the guys that really stood out was Rui Alvarez, who owns Tiki Taka Training. He was inspirational. His uh, his demeanor and his passion was electric, and it's something that I would love to match, or at least to at least partner with and grow with. So, kind of bouncing off of that and trying to answer your question here, um, Wyndham Training could potentially separate itself because it's not just soccer related. I try to teach values and try to give kids values and try to let them believe in themselves and become better people outside of just the football pitch, if that makes sense. So here at Wyndham Training, we emphasize a lot on those core aspects rather than just, hey, how is your pass, how's your first touch, how's your finishing, how's your body positioning. So all the tactical and technical things that are, compromise soccer. Yes, we focus a lot on that, but we also focus on things outside of that. How can you be a better leader? How can you be better brother, friend, kid,
which are
son, whatever it is?
very important aspects of like just anything that you do in life.
Exactly
Like
right. Exactly
with
right.
this podcast, like this is, it's kind of like routine. Like you have to be the leader. You have to plan ahead, plan accordingly. Communicate with you, communicate with all the other special guests. So you're not saying anything wrong here in terms of soccer. So it's like
100%.
no different.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say to kind of wrap up the answer here, I would say Wyndham Training can separate itself from other training and trainers because we focus on kids outside of just the soccer pitch. And I think there are trainers who are that passionate and check in with their kids and see how they're doing, see how their grades are, see how their family is. But that's something that I really, really value is that personable and relationship oriented trainer. I don't want to be just a trainer. I want to be a mentor. I want to be looked at as like a big brother to these kids or just a friend. Um, so more than just going out there and getting touches on the ball and telling them what to do and how to do it, when to do it. It's a little deeper than just the soccer side of things. So I would say that could be one big thing that separates Wyndham Training from other personal trainers.
And I think you just being more than a coach and a mentor is actually a reflection of you know who you're training your players with, how your players are taking your mentorship skills and applying that on the field and just getting the job done pretty much. So can you describe the stages of development that you focus on in your training programs? How do you tailor your approach for different age groups and skill levels?
It's a really good question. Um, so very subjective, actually, very subjective in terms of age, in terms of skill level, in terms of how many years they've played, where are they playing, and also what coach they've had in the past. There's a lot of there's so many different variables that can tie into this, and that is why my approach to each player that comes through Wyndham Training is very tailored to them. When they come to me, also depending on their age, but let's make an example here. If I have a 14-year-old kid who comes in and is on the verge of making his first year in high school, an appearance on the freshman team, at being a freshman is so key for a lot of freshmen because they want to get the varsity spot, right? That approach with that player is going to be way different than having a kid that's 7 or 8 years old who's just started their soccer journey. So again, going back to the example of this 14-year-old, my methodology there is okay, we got to break down who he is as a player first, see his past, see where he wants to go, sit down, have conversations of how he wants to get better, what he wants to do to get better, how he thinks he wants to get better. So we kind of break everything down, have sessions that are tailored for him. So every session is going to be tailored to either his preferred position, his strong position, even though at that age you want to be as versatile as possible. I I try to hit every single base, and at least in terms of soccer and the technique and the tactical analysis areas, I try to hit every single base in order for them to be successful in the field. And even at that age, you start getting into the aspects of strength work and endurance, um, and obviously trying to get them refined on the tactical side of the game, which is super, super important at that age. So that's an example I could give you for a 14-year-old. Now let's scale it back to a beginner 7-year-old, right? 7 or 8-year-old who just started their soccer journey, who potentially has a season or two under their belt, if that. Here we're teaching them simple things: how to turn, how to pass, how to hit a through ball, the
Just
weight of
taking
the
baby
pass, just
steps.
taking baby steps with the technical side. The tactical side here, they need to still gain the game time, the game experience. So when they come to me at those ages, it's more of technical work. And I would consider myself more of a technical coach or a technical trainer at those ages rather than when they get to 13, 14, 15, and so on. At that point, even with some of my 13-year-olds who have trace cameras recording their games at their club events, we actually sit down and do video analysis once a week, at least with some of the players that I have.
And that's another question for later. Actually, that's another good question that reminds me, but that's for later. Can you
Okay,
share any success stories of players who have gone through your training and made significant improvements in their game? This could be anything, like, a kid may have went to college and started on their starting 11, or maybe have started semi pro and has continued to get better. So just share those stories for a moment, if you could.
sure, sure. So in the past, I've worked with a couple players, and some of them are collegiate athletes still in the college season now. I can name drop a couple names, but there's no need. Let's just say that those players, again, are still in college, are having great success now. One's a freshman, one's a senior. And I got the chance to work with a senior for roughly 2 weeks. And I got a chance to work with a freshman, and I've seen him grow up for about, I'd say, 8 years. So um, those two players, having come to WT, Windham Training, and getting a little bit of training in, that's just sharpening the sword, right? I know what kind of players they are. I know what kind of ambitions they have. So when they came to me, it was more just getting them sharp, getting their mentality ready, just coming out and having fun and getting more touches in the ball. True success stories that I can share with you, though, don't necessarily come from those players. They come from the players that I have, which I train a lot of kids in the ages of 8 to 12. That's the most I have age wise, is kids 8 to 12. Those two kids I just mentioned that are in college are a bit of outliers. Um, I trained them in the summer, and I had a chance to train the senior in college before his preseason. But I do want to highlight some of these kids that I believe these are true success stories that have come to me and could barely dribble through 3 or 4 cones. And now, when we do the same exercise, they can dribble through it so easily that it makes me smile and it makes them smile. Like, we can look at each other and say, we have come so far,
So
or
far.
they have come so far. And some of these kids are playing more on teams, have more confidence. They are developing a love for the game. They're better leaders. And that's something that I would say is a true success story. Not just, hey, they got from point A to point B, they went to a different team and they're having more success individually, but they're also making the people around them, their collective group, their team better. And one example of this is, like, one of the kids that I started training with. He was actually my first ever player. I went to his house and he's stuck with me ever since. He's one of the players that has made so much improvement on the field that I would say that would be the biggest success story. I mean, this is one of the kids that I just mentioned earlier couldn't dribble through 3 or 4 cones, couldn't hit the ball properly going straight, couldn't strike on goal, didn't know how to position himself, and he is roughly 11 years old, going on 12. And now he understands so many things that we've talked about, and I'm running him through really high level sessions that I would run high schoolers through. And he is doing so good. So I would say my type of success stories may not be, hey, I'm sending players from college to semi pro teams, or I'm sending players from the semi pro to the pro level. One day, hopefully, I can. But I'm cultivating kids to love the game of soccer. And obviously, yes, getting better on the field, but I can see and I can sense true happiness when they come train with me, and when they leave the field and when they're actually performing on the field. I get text messages from parents telling me, "Hey, like my kid is doing so much better." Sending me videos of goals, and when I go watch them play, they're electric on the field. So I think those are the true success stories for me now in my situation.
And I think what you just talked about was pretty much the happiest moments, the highlights of, your career moving. I mean, your career with Windham Training moving forward. Um, yeah, man, that's really
100%.
impressive. That's impressive.
Thank you.
Like, so mental toughness and character building is another category of questions, and it's only two questions. Mental strength is crucial in sports. So, how do you work on developing the mental resilience of your players alongside their physical and technical skills?
Okay, that's a great question. So to kind of give you again a bit of background of who I coach and my approach to that. So I coach a lot of kids that fall between the ages of, let's say, 7 and 13. I have a couple outliers that are 14 or 15, but most of the kids that I coach are from 7 to 13. And the mental side of things at that point is just trying to learn how to react after a mistake. Because at those ages, you make so many mistakes. You have so much room to learn. And we are learning things that some people in the area of Northeast Georgia don't truly understand. I mean, I come from a hometown here that is very, very small. And there's not super, there's not, let's just say, there's not a lot of people that have loads and loads of knowledge around soccer. And I'm not trying to say anything mean here, but I'm trying to be a little realistic. And some of these kids that have talent, they haven't been pushed and haven't been given the true opportunities that they can potentially get down the road. But trying to tie back to what we're trying to grow here and what I'm trying to, I would say my true mission with the kids is yeah, the mental side of the game, like you said, is one of the most important things. But with these kids being the age that they are, you've got to teach them that if you make a mistake, how is your reaction after that mistake? Are you going to throw your hands up? Are you going to give up? Are you going to kick in, wave the white flag? You've got to try to teach them how to stay composed and just go for the next ball, go for the next try, and keep that momentum going. So that mental toughness in our training sessions is just built upon repetition after repetition. And I love details. I'm a person who's very detail oriented, and a lot of my kids can sometimes get a bit frustrated with that. But that's what builds mental toughness for them, is that I can key in and point out so many small little details and flaws that they are getting so frustrated over and over again, but they come out and they keep working hard and keep doing the same exercises at the same intense levels that eventually it becomes second nature to them. And that's something that is very difficult to do, but when you master that, you're going to be a very dangerous player when it becomes second nature. So hopefully that answered your question. And the physical side of things, obviously, they are between the age of 7 and 13. So the physical side of things is also something that slowly develops as they get older.
So last questions, because the call is going to end in 10 minutes automatically.
Sure thing.
If you could give one piece of advice to young soccer players hoping to reach their full potential, what would it be?
To reach their full potential.
Yes.
Um, that's a great question, a very difficult question, actually. So, one piece of advice I could give for any player to reach their potential is you have to love the game. You have to you have to put in a lot of extra work. You have to be a bit selfish in measures where you may think you're being too selfish. And you have to think about you. You have to leave the comparison out the window. So not sit there and compare yourself to other players, compare yourself to this and that, and make different ideas in your head. And you have to give it your all every single time because every 90 minutes could be your last on the field. You
Correct.
never know with injuries, you never know with cuts. I mean, there's so many variables and it's very subjective in the game and there's so many things out of your control that you've got to just again have that passion, have that internal motivation and love and drive for the game. So I would say again the biggest piece of advice is probably if you really love the game, pursue it. And there's gonna be a lot of sacrifices to be made, but if you really, really love the game, I think it's gonna bring you a lot of joy, a lot of memories and connections that you'll have for the rest of your life. So, um, yeah, I guess piece of advice. It's tough to formulate, but um, definitely the work piece has to be there. But again, kind of going over the same answers here. So hopefully, I've answered in some simple manner and extended.
So, so how can listeners get involved with Wyndham Training, whether as players, coaches, or just supporters in general? You have a social media page on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah. So it's Wyndham_training, and they can give a follow. They can check out the website. Obviously, we are in Northeast Georgia, a bit far away from you guys, about 2.5 hours from Dalton.
They also
Um,
have premium merch available as well.
oh, there you go, shouting out the merchandise. Yeah, we do. We have a local supplier here, and she's incredible. She's been making our t-shirts for roughly 5 months now, and all you have to do is text me, and I can get that order in. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, and potentially these three-quarter zips, but haven't made up my mind yet. But going into 2025, it's potentially going to change. We're going to have a different supplier with a little more quality merchandise, but that's still that still hasn't been planned and put in the stone. But a follow on Instagram would be incredible. Obviously, my numbers on the website, so any support, any contact, phone call, text message would definitely help, and I'm here to help and chat anything over soccer. So
Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, Wyndham of Wyndham Training. Evan, again, thank you so much for this interview this week. I think this is one of those interviews which is very special to me because I've never interviewed a soccer training development coach before. So this is one for the bookmarks, I guess.
Keon, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we can do this again.
You're very welcome. See you later.
All right, have a good one.
All right.